Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So, I've been using this iPhone 14 Pro, the gold color variant, as my secondary device for a good few months now, right here in early 2025, and honestly, I find this iPhone 14 Pro really interesting to review, and, well, even to own this year, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. We're going to dive deep into how it's holding up, design, display, performance, battery life, and all the whole phone. Let's find out. Alright, so first up, let's talk about the design. Now, this is something I've been thinking about. The iPhone 14 Pro is actually the last iPhone to use a stainless steel frame. After this, as you probably know, the iPhone Pro series switched over to titanium. And yeah, titanium is stronger and lighter, for sure. Oh, and the newer iPhone Pro, like the 16 Pro, also has a more rounded edge, which feels a softer edge, not as sharp as this one. But, there's one thing I really like about the design of this iPhone 14 Pro, and that's the stainless steel. Seriously, it just feels fuller, and stronger. Plus, it has this incredibly luxurious shine that you can really see. Now, okay, because it's so shiny, fingerprints will absolutely stick to it very easily. But, I mean, you can just give it a quick wipe and they're gone. And the weight, it is heavier, about 206 grams, especially compared to the newer titanium ones. But for me, that heavier weight actually makes this iPhone 14 Pro feel super sturdy and premium. That's just my opinion though. It still has those classic flat edges and the mute switch, which, later models swapped for an action button. Oh, and it still has the Lightning port, not USB-C, which means some newer USB-C specific accessories or CarPlay features might not be supported, but overall, software support is still really strong. Next up, let's chat about the display. And I gotta remind you, when the iPhone 14 Pro launched back in September 2022, it caused a huge amount of excitement. Everyone was buzzing, and a big part of that was because the iPhone finally used the dynamic island. And man, this was, and still is, super revolutionary and so smart of Apple. They basically changed the old notch into this pill shape that can move and animate dynamically. And even now, in 2025, the dynamic island is still a really fun and, honestly, luxurious feature. I've even seen a bunch of Android competitors trying to follow suit, which, big applause to Apple for that. Outside of that, Apple, of course, packed all the usual screen luxuries into the iPhone 14 Pro. You've got the ProMotion display going from 1 Hz all the way up to 120 Hz for super smooth scrolling, the beautiful Super Retina XDR OLED panel, and it gets seriously bright, like 1000 nits typical, and it can even hit 2000 nits outdoors, which is great. So yeah, watching videos, playing games, just scrolling through social media, browse, everything just runs and looks incredibly fluid and comfortable. The only tiny thing, if I'm being picky, is that the bezels are a bit thicker than the newest phones, around 2.2 millimeters, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Okay, let's move on to performance. So, the iPhone 14 Pro is rocking the A16 Bionic chip and 6 GB of RAM. And you know what? Even now, in mid-2025, this phone is still very capable in pretty much all things. If you're playing high-demanding games, editing photos and videos, or multitasking, it all runs smoothly. In benchmarks, yeah, it's not topping the charts against, let's say, an A18 Pro or the latest Snapdragon 8 Elite, especially in multi-core or raw GPU power, but for everyday stuff, like most people use their phones, there's almost no striking difference. Apps open fast, scrolling is smooth. The 6 GB of RAM is a little on the lower side by 2025 standards, as the new Pros have 8 GB. So sometimes super heavy multitasking might cause an app to reload, but for typical use, it's fine. Next, software updates. This is a big one for Apple. The iPhone 14 Pro will still get OS updates for a long time. Usually, Apple provides updates for 6 to 7 years. I might say this phone could get updates until 2029. And right now, as of mid-2025, my iPhone 14 Pro is running iOS 18.5, and it's got all the bug fixes and much more efficient performance. Now, it's true, the iPhone 14 Pro doesn't get Apple Intelligence. Apple is keeping those on-device AI features for iPhones with a minimum of 8 GB of RAM and the A17 Pro chip or newer. The A16 just doesn't quite have the NPU power for it, but honestly, I've never really felt like I've lost Apple Intelligence because basically I can still get a lot of AI features from third-party apps. Like if I want an AI eraser, I can just use Google Photos and it works perfectly. If I want smarter AI assistant capabilities, well, I can use apps like ChatGPT or Gemini, or even some workarounds to link them to Siri. So for me, it's not a huge deal. Okay, let's talk battery life. So currently, my battery health is somewhere in the 90% battery health. And with this condition, the battery is still running pretty optimally. I often find it still lasts me until the night before I go to bed, which is great. This is after about, let's say, 450 charge cycles since late 2022, so it's holding up pretty well, kind of like Apple expects, around 85 to 90% health. Now, if you use it for like full-on heavy load, gaming, GPS, lots of camera, I do sometimes need to give it a top-up charge in the afternoon, but for moderate use, it's generally fine. Charging itself is a bit slower than the newest iPhones because, well, it's Lightning, not USB-C. It takes about 35 minutes to get to 50% with a 20-watt adapter. Wireless charging is there with MagSafe at 15 watt. It's decent, but definitely not blazing fast like some newer phones. Next up, the camera. And this is where the iPhone 14 Pro, I think, had a pretty rapid upgrade from its predecessor. It was the first iPhone with a 48 megapixel main lens, which is a big deal. The rest of the setup is, as usual, a 12 megapixel ultrawide and a 12 megapixel 3x optical zoom telephoto. This camera formation is actually very similar to the iPhone 15 Pro. And honestly, the results from the iPhone 14 Pro's camera, both photos and videos, are still very good in 2025. It's actually difficult to see a huge difference with the latest series in most conditions, especially with that main sensor and the photonic engine doing its magic in low light. You can even shoot in ProRAW at 48 megapixel if you want maximum detail. Video quality is stellar too, with action mode for stabilization and cinematic mode. Now, the zoom limitation, yeah, that's probably where its age shows a bit. The 3x optical zoom is fine for portraits and getting a bit closer, but if you really like to zoom in on distant subjects, you'll notice it. The iPhone 16 Pro, for example, now uses a 5x optical zoom, and some rumors about iPhone 17 Pro models go even further. So for concerts or sports, yeah, newer phones will have an edge there, but for general photography, this thing is still a versatile and high-quality shooter. So overall, after using it daily for months, the iPhone 14 Pro still feels mostly premium. Apps launch quickly, scrolling is smooth, Face ID is instant. That gold stainless steel body still gets compliments. I often forget how old it is until I try something really intensive, and then I remember the A16 isn't the absolute fastest anymore. But I am really satisfied with the iPhone 14 Pro, especially when I look at the price on the marketplace now. It has dropped quite a bit from its original price, and then I consider the value you get. It's very, very eye-catching, and I think increasingly worth it. Now, of course, there are some shortcomings. First, that Lightning port. It means slower charging and data speeds compared to USB-C, and you need those legacy cables. Then there's the 6 gigabytes of RAM. Like I said, it's okay for most things, but heavy multitaskers might notice apps reloading, and it's why it doesn't support Apple Intelligence. The bezels are a bit thicker than the latest iPhone Pro models, which is more of an aesthetic thing, but you notice it side by side. The zoom capability, topping out at 3x optical, is a limitation if you're a big zoomer. And battery life is something to consider if you're buying this phone secondhand. Its health will likely be around 85 to 90%, so a replacement might be needed for all-day power for heavy users. Oh, and the weight? Some might find it a bit hefty due to the steel, but, you know, none of these feel like catastrophic deal breakers. It's mostly about missing the absolute latest and greatest rather than any major flaws. So, the big question, is the iPhone 14 Pro still a good buy in 2025? Well, 3 years on, I'd say it remains a strong value. You're still getting a flagship quality OLED display, a very capable camera system, especially that main shooter, and excellent build quality, all backed by Apple's continued software support, which is huge. For a photography enthusiast who mostly shoots in normal or wide modes, or for someone who wants that premium iPhone experience without paying top dollar, yeah, the 14 Pro is still a great fit. And that gold stainless steel look, it feels even more unique now that Apple has moved to all titanium frames. If you're a budget-conscious buyer but want a Pro features iPhone, of course this model is really appealing. However, if you absolutely crave the newest features, particularly on-device AI with Apple Intelligence, or that 5x camera zoom, or the convenience of USB-C, then yeah, an upgrade to a 15 Pro or 16 Pro is worth considering. And if you're a power user really pushing multi-core performance or gaming to its limits, newer chips will feel faster. My practical advice: if you already own an iPhone 14 Pro and it's in good condition, there's honestly little urgency to upgrade in mid-2025. It still handles daily tasks with ease and takes fantastic photos. Just keep it and maybe replace the battery if it's degraded. If you're buying one now, look for a good deal on a refurbished model. It can be a real bargain. Alright, so that's my long-term take on the iPhone 14 Pro in 2025. What do you guys think? Do you still have one? Are you considering buying one? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more tech reviews and thoughts. Catch you in the next one.